everyone, so in this video I'm going to go through the best and the worst super funds in Australia according to APRA, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, which is the super industry's chief regulator. And if there's one of my videos that you watch all the way through, make sure it's this one. And because while the difference in fees may seem quite small, and while the net investment return may not seem like a huge difference, because our superannuation is held for decades, these small things can really add up and can cost you over $100,000 over your whole working life. So that's why it's really important that you do pay attention and make sure that you're with the right super fund. I wanted to make this video really comprehensive, so I've split it up into 3 different parts. Part 1 is all about superannuation, the history of it and why it's important to be with a good super fund. Part 2 is about the net investment return. And here I'll show the best and the worst performing super fund in terms of net investment return after 5 years. And part 3 will be comparing the best and the worst super funds regarding the total fees. So I've left some timestamps down in the description below so you can jump around to the part which suits you, or also rewatch parts that you'd like to rewatch. So now let's get into part 1, which is all about what is superannuation. Before I get into the best and the worst super funds, let's back up a little bit more and really understand what superannuation is, especially for our American subscribers or our international subscribers who might not be familiar with it, or even just Aussies who'd like to learn a bit more about the history and the system. As early as the 1900s, the Australian government has been trying to tackle the issue of ensuring that people have enough money to retire with. The age pension used to be something that a lot of people used to rely on back in the day. But with Australia's growing population, the amount of money needed to fund people's retirements and pension would have been exorbitant if we were to continue growing at this rate. So the government started to look at other ways that they could ensure that the Australian people had enough money to retire with. And that's where superannuation comes in. Superannuation was a system which was first introduced in the early 1900s. And over the years, it has really been reformed and evolved into what it is today. And one of the biggest reforms, which has really shaped what superannuation is today, is the superannuation guarantee, which was introduced in 1991. Under this law, employers are required to make superannuation contributions to their employees. In Australia, pretty much all working adults who are earning more than $450 per week are entitled to superannuation. A compulsory 9.5% of our salary goes into our superannuation accounts so that it can really compound and grow over time for our retirement. And the Australian government also incentivises people to make extra super contributions by taxing these individual super contributions at only 15%. Since introducing superannuation, we now have $2.7 trillion in assets, which is really impressive for a small country of only 25 million people. And personally, the concept of superannuation is something that I'm really proud of as an Australian. And I think that it's really important because it makes it easier for us to save for retirement. All I needed to do was sign up for a super fund, send it to my employer, and they do all of the rest, which was sending off my pay into my super fund, and the super fund would essentially invest my money for me and have that really compound over time. And because it's so easy, I think that's the great thing about superannuation, but also the downside as well. Personally, since I'm quite young, I never really paid attention to my superannuation because I always thought that it was something that I could just wait for a later date, since I can't even withdraw the money until I'm at least 60 years old. So until I read The Barefoot Investor only a few years ago, it was something that I never really gave much thought. And I think that a lot of other people are also in the same boat when it does come to superannuation. Superannuation is a $1 trillion industry, and of course, where there is money, there are always going to be some companies who are trying to make more money out of people. And because of the nature of superannuation, because we can't really see it or access it very easily, and because we can only really access it after the age of 60, it's something that a lot of people aren't really taking the time to look into. So some people are paying way more fees than they need to. In fact, 36% of Australians have more than one super fund. And this isn't a good thing because when you do have more than one super fund, you're essentially paying more fees on a smaller amount, which can really eat away at your retirement savings. So if you do have more than one super fund, consider consolidating it because you'll probably be paying a lot more in fees. And don't worry, because I only consolidated my super fund a couple of years ago and I was pretty nervous about doing it, but it was actually a very easy and very streamless process. So now we know a little bit more about the history of superannuation and why it's important, let's jump into the best and the worst performing super funds. But first, if you're enjoying this video so far, please make sure you give this video a like and please consider subscribing to my channel because I produce 3 videos every single week about making money, saving money and investing. So if this is something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. So before I get into this list, I did want to put a disclaimer in here. I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice, and it's especially not personal financial advice. I'm just some person on the internet who has done some research about superannuation and downloaded the APRA heat map tool. And by the way, if you'd like to check out this tool yourself, I've also put a link down in the description below to the APRA website so you can check out this heat map tool. And I also did want to note that even though this tool was created by APRA, which is the super industry's chief regulator, and they created this tool because they wanted to start weeding out the underperforming funds. But like everything in life, nothing is perfect and neither is this heat map tool, since they only compare the past 5 years of performance. And it doesn't really give a full indicator of how this fund will perform over a whole lifetime. So it is really important that you do your own research and make sure that you really have a look at all of the possible factors when deciding which super fund you want to be with. And there are also 90 default super funds on this list. So now let's get into the best and the worst super funds by net investment return after 5 years. And here are the 3 worst super funds by net investment return after 5 years. The first one is Energy Industry Superannuation Scheme, and the MySuper product name is Balanced MySuper. The net return is 6.19%. And the number 2 worst super fund by 5-year net investment return is the RSE licensee Maritime Super Pty Limited, and the MySuper product name is MySuper Investment Option. The net return is 6.23%. And number 3 is RSE licensee Towers Watson Superannuation, and the MySuper product name is Balanced. The net return is 6.54%. Now let's get into the best super funds by 5-year net investment return. So the first one is Host Plus Pty Ltd, and the MySuper product name is the Balanced Option. The net return is 9.65%. And the second one is the RSE licensee Best Superannuation Pty Ltd, and the MySuper product name is Goldman Sachs and JB Ware. The net return is 9.63%. And the third best super fund by 5-year net investment return is the RSE licensee Australian Super Pty Ltd, and the MySuper product name is Australian Super MySuper. The net return is 9.48%. So as you can see here, even though the best and the worst super funds are only really about a 3% difference, this can really add up over a lifetime.
So in this example, let's just say I have $10,000 in my super account at the moment, and I make regular deposits of $600 every single month. Over 40 years, at an annual interest rate of 6.19%, which is the lowest investment return of a super fund, I will have $1,376,000 total over my lifetime of 40 years. Now let's compare the best performing super fund and use the exact same numbers. $10,000 starting balance, $600 of regular deposits. After 40 years, at an annual interest rate of 9.65%, I will have $3,879,000 over my lifetime, which is a $2 million difference with the same investment.
So even though a 3% difference doesn't seem like a lot, it can really add up to a couple of hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. So the second thing that APRA also does look at is the total fees of your super fund. So now let's jump into the worst performing super funds by total fees. So the first one is Best Superannuation Pty Ltd. The MySuper product name is Goldman Sachs and JB Ware. The total fees on a $10,000 balance is 4.37%. The second one is the RSE license IAG and NRMA Superannuation. The MySuper product name is MySuper, and the total fees on a $10,000 balance is 2.59%. The third one is RSE licensee Bus Queensland, and the MySuper product name is Bus Q MySuper. Total fees on a $10,000 balance is 2.2%. Now let's jump into the best performing super funds by total fees on a $10,000 balance. And these are, number one, the RSE licensee NM Superannuation Proprietary Limited, and the MySuper product name is Brookfield Australia MySuper. The total fees on a $10,000 balance is 0.5%. Number two is RSE licensee ANZ Staff Superannuation Australia Pty Ltd, and the MySuper product name is ANZ Staff MySuper. The total fees on a $10,000 balance is 0.71%. And the third one is the RSE licensee NM Superannuation Proprietary Limited, and the MySuper product name is Macquarie Group MySuper. The total fees on a $10,000 balance is 9.4%. So as we can see in the best and the worst performing super funds by total fees on a $10,000 balance and also by net investment return, we can see that there was one fund that actually appeared on both the best and the worst list, and that was the Goldman Sachs Super Fund. So I think it is very important that when you are looking at the heat mapping tool, you look at both the net investment return and also the total fees, because this can give you a bit more of a full picture about the differences between the different super funds. So it is really important that you do your own research and really compare all of the different things in the heat mapping tool for yourself before you make any decisions about switching your super fund. So if you want to do your own research into this, I've put some links down in the description below so you can check out this heat mapping tool for yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments what super fund you're with and what you thought of this video. I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video and you found it useful, make sure you give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya! And if you'd like to see more videos, I've also put some links to some videos here, so make sure you check out these videos. I really hope you enjoy them.